In this video lesson, we will continue to talk about animation and rendering in 3D Studio Max. And this is going to be also the final lesson of the video course about 3D Studio Max 2023. So we're going to see some other possibilities that we have in 3D Studio with animation. We saw that we can animate cameras and objects. And also we saw that we can create the motion blur effect. And also all the effects that we essentially create using static still images, still renderings, we can also change them into animated effects. So for example, we can animate materials, we can animate parameters, we can animate lights, we can animate the intensity of the light and the volumetric effects. Essentially we can animate anything. This is a really powerful software because it gives you the possibility to animate everything. So I'm gonna go back to the previous scene of the previous video where we also applied a video material. This is another option that you have. You can either animate the materials within 3ds Max or just add an animation or a video to the texture instead of using a simple image. Now we see here also how we animated the depth of field, which is another effect to have things in focus and out of focus. And you can see how here the focus changes from the background to the statue here in the foreground, just by using the depth of field effect again with the physical camera, as we learned in the previous videos, and also changing the position of the target and the depth of field. So you can use also the animation to change the position of the sun, and so to affect the sun and the sky. So you can create like day night scene, so starting from the day and then getting into the night, just by changing all the parameters that we saw before, or actually just changing the position of the sun. You can do like a sun study for your project just by animating the sun. And so we're gonna do more examples here. You can also insert animated people to live up your scene to make it more rich, more live. So here in the tabs, we saw all the previous tabs like modeling, freeform, object paint, and selection. Now we're gonna go into the last one here, populate. So we cover all of this area. And here is where you can generate animated people. So if you have an architecture, an exterior, an interior, you can insert like groups of people, or people walking, or people standing, or people sitting, and then you can manage those clusters autonomously. So I'm gonna start with an area here of my project, and I'm gonna insert some of these people. So you can start with this one. So it's gonna like create a path, just like you create a path using a line. You can click here and define some corners and create a complex path for the characters that will walk along this path. So this is one way you can insert people walking. Now be careful, if you do some mistake, you can always change the path. You can always adjust it, just like you work with editable spline. You can adjust the segments and the points, the vertices. So you can also delete some vertices if you want. So just trying here to adjust this path. So you have in the modifier, you have the flow points, the flow segments, and also the width. So if you want a larger path, so it's going to contain more people. So just like any other tool that we learned, you can always modify it. You can adjust it using the modifier tab, just as usual, essentially. So I'm gonna try to place it around the swimming pool here that I have in the scene. So I'm trying to find the correct placement for that. And of course, these are just going to be examples. For anything you need time, you need to spend uh, more time to make things a little bit more precise, but this is going to work fine. And also you consider the direction, the randomization for the positions, and the gender, and some other parameter right there. So I'm gonna isolate this by holding Alt Q, by clicking Alt 2, and you have like a lot of genders there. You can increase, you can change the density, you can change the situation like male, female, slow, fast, running, not running. So you can create different types of simulations, situations. So you can also go there, so that you can edit the flow from there and create flow. These are also other options to create like areas where people are standing and like talking or doing stuff, or you can place people sitting. And this is the simulate. So when you go here in the simulate tab, you can also define the number of frames, and then you hit if you have like 100. So in my case, I have 100, and then hit simulate button and say yes. And what's gonna do here is just, you can see there downloading, start to download the populate data. So you will have like extra models when you're finished to download that zip file. So I'm just gonna go back and add also some areas. Then we're gonna add the people later when the download is finished. So I'm gonna click here, and instead of creating a path here, you can just define an area. And again, you have density, you have people that can be singles or in groups, and you can see groups of 3 or 2, male, females, and just go there and experiment just like anything else with the parameters. So everything is parametric. And let's also add here another one. This is another option. It's going to be a circle. It's going to be exactly the same of the square. And also I'm going to copy around and create some furniture outside. I want to place some people sitting on some chairs, so I'm going to copy the tables and the chair. And you can see that if it gets too complex there, you can always collapse all, and it's going to compact everything. So the wrap mapping, the textures, the editing into one single entity. So you can see here I place some tables, some chairs around my swimming pool, and then I can create perhaps some seat. So this is going to be my seat right there. It's going to be represented like a cube, but when I will simulate, there's going to be persons sitting there. So whatever I want to place people sitting, and I can place these little cubes, can choose male, female, the height of the seat, and there you go. I'm gonna place another one here on this other chair. Now there's the populate data. I'm gonna just install it with a simple wizard once it's downloaded, and then click on simulate when it has finished to be installed. And there's my guy there sitting. Now I need to adjust it a little bit, but it's definitely there. I can move it just a little bit up. And there you go. So you can see now I have people walking, people standing, people sitting. So if I press play, these are all animated people. They will just like be there talking or doing